Well, last night, the Nashville police said they would finally release the manifesto of the trans shooter who murdered 3 children and 3 adults in a Christian school. The big question we all want to know is why now? In a statement, the police department told Fox News, quote, the investigation has progressed to the point where the Covenant shooter's writings are now being reviewed for public release. So they, quote, reached a point where we can see it. Now, we all know it should have been released shortly after the tragedy happened. They still haven't told us when they're going to make it public. The manifesto was found in the car, but police also seized a suicide note, journals, and a hand-drawn map of the school from the trans shooter. Why don't they want us to see those? Well, we know the story doesn't fit the left's narrative. The shooter is trans. So how heavily is this manifesto going to be redacted? And what will we be allowed to see? Terry Turchie is a former Deputy Assistant Director of the Counterterrorism Division of the FBI. Terry, let me pose that question to you. Will it be redacted? What will we see?
Well, Pete, it is very important that the Nashville PD, even if it's a month late, release that manifesto. I have a terrible feeling it will be redacted somewhat. It may have a lot of omissions. The more they redact it, the more they omit. And any other documents they found that they failed to release will really increase the fact that we just can't trust law enforcement even. And this ties into what you've been talking about insofar as the political agenda. Unfortunately, we have to admit to ourselves, whether we're former or we're current, that America's never been in this kind of situation before, where law enforcement has become political, and many of us could argue law enforcement has become weaponized. And if this shooter doesn't match the politically correct definition of the myth that people are trying, and the people in power, I mean, are trying to let American people know is the profile of a crazed shooter, then we're in trouble. We're not going to learn anything because, quite frankly, what they want Americans to believe right now is not what is in their own words, not what is in the words of these people who commit these terrible crimes. Mm-hmm. They want people to think that the gun-crazed, right-wing, fundamentalist Christian white supremacist is the person responsible for shootings in America like this. And the reason they want them to think that is they want to galvanize the support to essentially go after firearms. They want to attack the Bill of Rights. And this is just one of the tools that they'll use. This is a tool used by communism throughout the ages. And that's what we're seeing in front of us now in real time. Yeah. If we don't get these manifestos, and we know we've dealt with, for example, the Unabomber manifesto. If we don't get these manifestos in their own words, we can't go back to Americans and say, see, this myth is just simply untrue.
Terry,
this is what these people were saying.
What's the standard practice? How soon should they have released something like this to establish trust?
Well, there are no rules, Pete, but in this instance, there wasn't going to be any trial. They had one mission probably, and that's to make sure they protect anybody else who might be put in some sort of danger if it's released. And that could be for a lot of reasons as far as what's in it. But when we start getting into, I'll give you an example, information that the shooter, for example, found very personal and put into a diary or a autobiography or into the manifesto, that information shouldn't be protected. It should be out there. But it'll be very interesting to see if it is, because it will not tell and convey the message that we have been led to believe. And anybody in law enforcement knows that. Mental illness is a major component, or either diagnosed or undiagnosed, of mass shooters and serial lone bombers. And we know that because the FBI for 20 years now has had a study on that point. So we need this information, and Americans will see that they've been misled, they've been disinformed, and the whole purpose of that was to accomplish the agenda of going after people's firearms.
You know, you're exactly right about that last point for sure. But whether they redact just private information about individuals who would have been listed vis-a-vis the narrative or ideology of the shooter would tell us everything. Terry, thank you so much for your time. You know what you're talking about.
Thank you.
You got it.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.